Good morning, Rancho Santa Fe. Hope everybody's up, had their coffee, did all our calisthenics already this morning, got in a round of golf, and here you are. So glad to be with you this morning. And one thing I just want to give you a heads up, I have a 10 o'clock hard stop that, so we'll have to stop taking questions by then. I got a meeting on San Onofre at 10 o'clock, so got to do something with that nuclear waste up there. But anyway, a lot of familiar faces there. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm your county supervisor. And the Navy brought me to San Diego County many, many moons ago. Graduated from San Diego State with a degree in engineering. Met my beautiful wife. We've been married 37 years. I think it's 37 years this year. And we got 2 adult children. I used to be the mayor of San Marcos. I got into politics essentially. I started a tech company in the 90s while I was still flying for Delta Airlines. I had a tech company. I got involved with the Chamber of Commerce, the Economic Development Commission, and ran for city council, ran for mayor, was mayor of San Marcos for 12 years. And got involved in politics there and ended up here. So, but just last September 1st, I retired from my job as a Delta Airlines captain for 33 years. I flew for Delta Airlines, got to see the world. It was a great job. It was a lot easier than this one. But anyway, I just retired from there. So it's a little bit about myself. The one of the things, that I got the question in most of because you're an unincorporated area of the county, Rancho Santa Fe, you pretty much understand what a supervisor does. But one of the questions I get a lot is, what does a supervisor supervise? And basically it's your money is what we supervise. $6.4 billion a year is the annual budget. The biggest chunk of that is county health and human services. About a third of that $6 billion goes to county health and human services, which, you've heard a lot in the news lately, primarily with COVID. And county also does, we handle the courts, we handle the sheriffs, beach and water quality testing, restaurant testing, agriculture issues, the district attorney's office. I mean, it's animal control, agriculture testing, just all sorts of things. There's over 18,000 employees at the county, and there's 5 county supervisors. We each represent about 600,000 people each in the county. So essentially, the county, we're the mayor, the city council. We are your elected representatives in the unincorporated areas. So in my district, it also includes Fallbrook, Valley Center, Ranchitos, Rainbow, Borrego, and Rancho Santa Fe. So including 4 cities, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, and San Marcos. So as many of you know, here we are in COVID. All right, so COVID here has taken all the wind out of the air here lately. We're currently in the purple tier. However, late last night, the governor came out with some changes that may put us in the red tier sooner rather than later. We're still kind of trying to vet that out and figure out exactly what he said and what it meant. But right now we got, as everybody pretty much knows, we got outdoor dinings available, salons, barbershops, places like that, businesses inside. We still don't have any indoor dining. We still don't have any, our museums aren't open, our theme parks aren't open, weddings and street fairs, those types of things aren't open. Gyms aren't open, but we're hoping to get into the red tier very soon, which would allow 25% indoor dining, movie theaters 25%, gyms at 10%. So, and last week I sent a letter to the governor, still haven't heard back, but asking for the governor to allow 25% of the fans to be at Petco Park on opening day, which is April 1st. I mean, you can eat outdoors, stadiums outdoors. I think we can do social distancing and accomplish that and keep people safe and let us get back to some sort of normalcy with the COVID and the vaccine. So unfortunately, it's been a constantly ever changing dynamic here with what tier we're in and what can be open, what can be closed. Currently, right now, what's good is all the youth sports, outdoor youth sports can be taking place. Not so much for indoor youth sports, but at least we had a court judgment a couple weeks ago. Local Superior Court ruled that if we can, follow the same criteria and things like this as colleges and college sports and other sports that are allowed, we should be able to allow it to be open as well. But the biggest question and the hundreds of calls we get a day is on this vaccine and the vaccine rollout. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is we've got about 850,000 people in San Diego County have been vaccinated. So, which is good. And we've got vaccine super stations at Cal State San Marcos. And also one has just opened up recently at the Del Mar Fairgrounds, which I'm hoping some of you have been able to get your first or second vaccines at the fairgrounds or wherever else you can get it in the county. So we've got about 850,000 people vaccinated. We have the infrastructure in place to vaccinate many, many people a day in San Diego County. We've got points of distribution. We got, the super stations, CVS and the pharmacies are giving it out. Grocery stores, pharmacies are giving it out. The Blue Cross just took it over for the entire state. So there's been some frustration, a lot, as far as getting appointments. And unfortunately, we still hasn't, the different different vaccination stations all use different websites to get on and figure out where the heck they go and get their vaccines. We sent out a newsletter a couple weeks ago, about a week ago, that had all of the testing sites and a link to the website that allows you to make the appointments there. If you don't have that, we can send that out again to everybody that's online here. It is and basically at that point in time, the vaccination stations send the link. Here's where you go to get that. Let's see, or the website. For most of the county station or vaccination stations, and I think Del Mar included, it's myturn.ca.gov. If you go there, and that's what the county uses for most of their appointments. But some of these super stations are run by Scripps. Some are run by Sharp. Some are run by Blue Cross. Some now are run by an entity called Viva, which I just found out this morning. Another option is just call 211. 211 will help you, guide you through the process. They can't always make appointments, particularly 75 and older. Calling 211, they can actually help you set up the appointment, but they can also hopefully guide you to where you can get the shots. The best advice we give people is talk to your doctor first. Talk to your physician and find out, where they're, because if you're with Scripps or Kaiser or Scripps, Kaiser or Sharps, they have their own vaccinations delivered to them, and they're giving it out, directly to their members. Whereas a county, we're kind of picking up the other people who don't have these other entities or other avenues to get the vaccine. So the vaccine, is on its way. The good news is we got many people trying to get the vaccine, which is good. Our numbers are going down in COVID, which is good. The number of hospitalizations, the number of people testing positive, that's going down. Vaccinations are going up as the vaccines as we get them in. And so there's still some work to be done on the vaccine. It's kind of frustrating dealing with getting people appointments, and I've had people call my office. I got the first appointment, but now because last weekend we didn't have the vaccines we thought we were going to have, we're canceling people's appointments and trying to get people back in the pipeline and make sure they get that second vaccination. So we feel your frustration. We'll try to help as best we can. Call my office. I got a great team of people most of them are on board here today on the Zoom, and we can try to help you navigate through. There's been some stimulus grants have been given out by the feds, by the state, by the county, different loan opportunities, things like that. In Rancho Santa Fe, we've given about $120,000 through my office in small business grants to about 22 different businesses. We're still giving out neighborhood reinvestment dollars to different entities. We've given so far only about $40,000 there. Community enhancement, about $23,000. There's still more money to be given out. We're hoping the feds through the Biden administration is going to get, I'm not sure how many trillions he's going to be giving out federally or nationwide. We're estimating and getting a good chunk of that, maybe about $600 million to San Diego County. We haven't got it yet, so I can't count on the exact number, but more potentially stimulus dollars that we can get towards businesses that are hurting and helping them stay alive. One of my priorities has always been roads and infrastructure. This one's up in North County, but this is the high priority for me in the district is the HOV lanes across the 78 between the 15 and the 5. We still have at the 5 and the 78 interchange a stoplight there. But you're currently paying for this road infrastructure, these HOV lanes down the 78, although they haven't happened yet. Right now, though, there is in the process an environmental impact report being done for the HOV connectors that are there on the 15 that end at the 78 to bring those over the interchange at the 78 and 15 and land them about Twin Oaks Valley Road on the 78. So hopefully those HOV lanes, you'll be able to get on those on the 78, go over the interchange and connect right down to the 15. And then hopefully, crossing our fingers, that Sandag hasn't given it its blessing yet, was to take those HOV lanes all the way to the I-5 and then fix that I-5 and 70 and I-5-78 interchange so we don't have a stoplight there. Now here, recent news, the cannabis ordinance. The new Board of Supervisors, excluding myself, approved the creation of a new marijuana ordinance that would allow the sale, manufacture, and cultivation of marijuana throughout the unincorporated areas of the county. I was a lone vote in opposition to this item. Regardless of your stance on marijuana, California voters made it legal. It's more of a land use issue as opposed to anti-marijuana, but land use issues. I don't want a marijuana dispensary in my neighborhood, and I'm not willing to put them in anyone else's neighborhood. So as far as agriculture, I think that can be maintained, manufacturing, mostly in the industrial areas. But the dispensaries, I just don't think making drugs at a time when we have homelessness and people dying, overdosing from drugs at 4 times the rate they were before COVID, to allow another drug to be any more available than it already is. You can get it delivered any place in the county. So I voted against that. The board also voted to give preferential treatment for these dispensaries to people who've been charged with marijuana crimes in the past. So they go to the front of the line for getting a permit. Also, they're going to allow usage on site. So you go to a dispensary, I guess there's a smoking lounge or something to that effect on site. They can smoke it there and hopefully they don't drive away. Another thing we just worked on, I just had at a board meeting about public safety power shutoffs. I know Rancho Santa Fe has been affected by these shutoffs and how they can wreak havoc. I think everybody understands the reason for having these shutoffs is to stop the wildfires as best we can or get ahead of those. But what we did realize, there's a lot of negative impacts when the power does go off, and there's safety impacts as well, especially in the unincorporated areas where we found out that these traffic lights have batteries on them, and if the power outage is for a couple of days, these batteries go dead. The traffic lights don't work at nighttime, and even on evacuation routes, these traffic signals don't work, and it's kind of a free for all and mayhem out there with trying to keep people safe and to mitigate some of the impacts. So we got about $600,000 here at the last board meeting to partner with San Diego Gas and Electric and enhance the plans and address some of the impacts involved with the public safety power shutoff. So we'll be looking to the planning groups and different sponsor groups throughout the district to find out, what the impacts are, how to address them. For me in particular, I definitely want to get those battery backups on these traffic lights and along the evacuation routes and make sure that they're able to keep operating. Let's see, just a couple more things, and then we'll get to your questions. The Rancho Santa Fe roundabouts. Recently, I got $3 million for these roundabouts at the intersections of Villa de la Valle and Paseo Delicias, El Montevideo and Paseo Delicias, and also El Camino del Norte and Del Dios Highway for roundabouts. So that is, it's the environmental dollars. It's not, which is mostly for design and for getting the project shovel ready. Also included in the design portion, which is critical, is buying the right-of-way that we need. If we need to purchase a right-of-way for some of these roundabouts and going through that land acquisition. So there'll be essentially what we want to do is get the roundabouts to the point where they're going to be shovel ready, ready to be competitive for dollars from the county or from the state or the feds or grants or things like that. Once your project's shovel ready and you've got money invested in them, it's a lot easier to get dollars for. So total cost for construction of the 3 roundabouts is about $12 million. So that 3 million, I have to double check, but I think that 3 million is part of that 12 and be about $9 million. So we have had some good discussions with the Rancho Santa Fe Association, your association, that concerning landscape. And, you know, you can see in this picture, there's a beautiful roundabout. Can't even tell if it's a roundabout, but probably the county's not going to do them to that level. But with your association and your efforts and working with the association itself, we're going to work with them on landscaping designs and issues and see where right now, I think through the association, you do a lot and pay for a lot of the landscaping along the roads in Rancho Santa Fe and doing a great job. And this would be another potential, these roundabouts would be another potential opportunity for you to keep these roundabouts in the way and fashion that hopefully looks like this picture. So I'm going to, I know we had some, if you have any questions, you know, anytime on anything, even if we can't, you know, it's not something we can handle, we will get you to the right person. I got a great staff of 9 people. I see Patty and Marty on board, and Miles. I know many of my other staff members are here. I just can't see them all on the screen right now. Crystal and Darren and everybody else. Contact give us a call. If you got a question on anything, or send us an email or something like that. You know, one of my goals has always been to get back to people, even if it's not the answer you want to hear. Maybe we can explain why that is. And then also, if we can't handle it, well, there's 18,000 people that work at the county. There should be one that can help you out with your issues. So we kind of pride ourselves, and I like calling somebody and having somebody answer the phone. I can't guarantee that all the time, but you know, and then getting that personal help, and we strive to do that here. So I know there was a survey done, and I'm going to let Miles go over the survey and what some of the questions that came out of that, and issues, and then we'll open it up for questions and try to get to as many as we can. So Miles.
Fantastic. Thanks, Supervisor. Yeah, we'll just jump in just quickly because like we said, we want to get to the question. Some of the top issues, I always just think this is interesting to look at, and this is kind of what I talked about in the beginning. We've got a lot of different opinions, different topics in Rancho Santa Fe. So, you know, fire being the #1 issue, and then traffic/development. So I'm sure we'll have some questions on that. I just wanted to lay that out. If you're someone who's concerned about fire, development, traffic, please, you know, virtually raise your hand, physically raise your hand here when we open it up to questions in a second. I always think it's interesting to look at that, and then just kind of delving in even deeper into that fire issue, fire safety, a major issue, and certainly something we know, Supervisor knows, and something that we've been working on, so we can hopefully at least give you an update or talk about what we're doing for that. And then always like to end with this. Overall, I'm excited about the future of Rancho Santa Fe. Overall, it looks like everybody is. I'd be curious if someone disagrees with that. If someone's on the call and wants to talk about that, I just kind of would be interested in why that was, and certainly hopefully, you know, fix that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. I also want to give a shout out, by the way, because we have some, I know Supervisor Desmond, you mentioned some of the staff on the call, some of our staff members, but we also have some Rancho Santa Fe school board members as well. We have Callie Kim, Jean Magani, Rosemary Regati Clerk, Annette Ross, John Tree, and I think Donna Trippi is also on the call. I probably butchered all your names, so I'm sorry about that, but I appreciate you being on the call with us, and certainly something.
Callie Kim.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. I appreciate it. So, okay, let's jump into some questions, and I have seen the San Pasquale question, but I want to wait on our chief of staff is going to be on the meeting here in a second. He has a bit of an update on the San Pasquale Academy update. So I do want to get to that. Supervisor, let me throw something your way and see. You talked about the power safety, power shutoffs, and at the board this last Tuesday, some action was made on it. Is there any progress on undergrounding or anything? Can you kind of explain a little more about some of that?
Well, I think I'm going to have to wait for Darren on the specifics on the undergrounding issue, but fires, it's still out there, and it's still a huge issue for all of us, and we want to try to get ahead of it as best we can, even though this is not fire season. But like I said, as far as trying to get we got the dollars at least for trying to get signals and things like that backed up with the battery backup, and also for generators at fire stations and at schools and well, not necessarily schools yet, but at points of need, possibly schools, to make sure we get those dollars for that and minimize the impacts. One of the other things that I'm going to be putting forward here in the next month or so is another board letter requesting dollars for more clearing along our major evacuation routes. So where we can legally do it and clear those evacuation routes to get the brush away from there as much as possible, because we've all seen the pictures of people driving through fires on the road, and so that's another effort that we're trying to work with, and then deal with SDG&E. SDG&E has actually done a pretty good job as far as minimizing the power outages instead of just knocking everybody off the grid. They've done a pretty good job as far as isolating, and we want to keep and work with them in their efforts. But we all realize, that fire is a huge threat out there, and particularly Rancho Santa Fe. I mean, as the winds come blowing down through the river valley there, down towards Del Mar, and you're in a hot spot. And I know there's some issues in Rancho Santa Fe as far as clearing some of those old growth trees, and it's been difficult because of personal property right issues to get everybody in line with that. But I think there's been a good effort even by Rancho Santa Fe itself and the association and the different entities as far as getting that awareness up, and we can help out in that effort. So I know that's been a big issue for a lot of the county, and we're going to continue to work on it and take your ideas. I don't have the answer to all of them. I'd be happy to hear from the different groups and see if there's other areas we can work on. So with this thing, the board letter we just got pushed through at the last meeting, there's an opportunity for input on there as to how we can work together, and we'll reach out to the different sponsor groups and planning groups and get your ideas.
I see Callie Kim, you have your virtual hand raised, so if you want to unmute and ask away.
Hi, thank you for hosting this. I have a three-pronged question that I thought of after I filled out the survey. So sorry, I didn't give you more of a heads up.
I don't know how many prongs are we allowing?
I'll make them quick. So first is vaccines for teachers. I'm really upset that the schools that are open, the teachers that are in class every day with students are not given any kind of priority for the vaccines. And then I would like to know what you're doing to open the high schools back up. I think emotionally, this is awful for our kids and this generation, what we've done to them. And what the county is going to do to help streamline the testing. You're putting this burden of testing on the schools, and I think that is, they already have enough of a burden trying to get the space and everything else. I mean, what kind of aid are you going to give also for the ventilation that they have to upgrade? I mean, they're facing a lot of obstacles to reopen. And I hear all about, COVID, but I never hear about the kids and the schools.
Well, Callie, you're absolutely right. There is a lot about the medical issues of COVID, but you don't hear about the cause and effect, or you don't hear about the ancillary issues about, as I mentioned, drug overdoses and the kids and anxiety and not being able to play and get out. At least we did get the sports. I think it's a good idea that as far as vaccine, teachers in the classroom to be a priority. I was not aware, I wasn't in on the meetings that set those priorities. That's something I can definitely bring up to see if we can get, teachers that are actively teaching right now in the classrooms.
It started out that way and then it got changed. We got shifted to the end of the line, even though we've been open.
Well, yeah, which unfortunately here, one of the things I've been saying, it's just kind of not to be sarcastic, but it's just, when you mix politics and medicine, you get politics. And I think that's what's played in here, unfortunately, because everybody says follow the science, and unfortunately, but I agree with you. I'll see what we can do to push that effort. I've been a big advocate for opening businesses and opening schools, and I think we can do it safely. I think one of the glitches that we did have is not getting the teachers vaccinated as quickly as possible, because that I think would have helped get students back into school. Right now, it's just the elementary schools, because the younger you are, the least impact, the least vulnerable you are for the virus. I think high schools as well. I'm been pushing the effort for businesses and schools and churches and to open up safely. And so that's always been an effort of mine. I'm kind of the lone voice beating my head against a wall on some of these issues, but I'll keep knocking at that door. As far as the testing, one of the things I just brought up at the meeting yesterday, because we were talking about, or 2 days ago, the stimulus dollars that we'll be getting from the federal government into San Diego County. And it's going to be a good sized chunk if, they keep, I guess, massaging the dollars back in Washington. But once it comes, one of the things I did bring up was the testing, because the burden is going to be now to do testing. The testing, it used to be primarily, who had it and how do we eradicate it and how many people have it. Now we want to do the testing, particularly for schools and for school sports and for the classroom and the teachers to do testing and have that testing available. So I did bring that up at the for the county to direct funds towards those types of, I don't want to call it ancillary, but those types of now required tests, because we opened up schools, that we need to put money towards this testing entity or testing activities, I guess, for lack of another term. So that we need to do that, because right now all the money is going towards vaccination and it's coming away from testing. And so we got to keep the testing up so that we can keep schools open and sports open and other entities that require that more frequent testing now. So I'm with you on that. We'll keep, I'll see what we can. I can't say I wave a magic wand today. I wish I had one. They didn't give me one, but I agree with you on the prioritization. We'll see what we can do about that with teachers and make sure you get the testing. So,
and I know Crystal Jabara from our office just put this in the chat, but if people don't have the chat open, she was on a call this morning, I know, with Tri-City Medical Center, and they said, and Scripps Medical Group, that they will vaccinate educators at any time at their vaccine sites. You just have to make an appointment. So again, if you have any questions about that, please reach out to us, reach out to the office. That's something that we just found out about 30 minutes ago. As you guys know, these things are changing relatively frequently. So
again, say that again. Who is vaccinating teachers?
Crystal,
right now?
You answered the question. You were the one on the meeting.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal. I work for Supervisor Desmond. I had a meeting this morning with representatives from Tri-City Medical Group Center and Scripps Hospital Medical Center, and they will vaccinate teachers. You just have to make an appointment through their normal system. They will not turn them away. Just make the appointment and you can go there and be vaccinated at any of their locations. And I've heard really good things about both of their efforts to vaccinate people. It's very smooth and very quick.
Okay, not to get too nuanced, but you have to be a Scripps member?
No, you do not. And you do not have to be a Tri-City member. As long as you are eligible for a vaccine, you can make an appointment at either of those groups.
But do you have to be in because I know they put the teachers in 4 levels. And they're only in level 4 and 3 right now, and we're classified as level 1 is, or I don't know what level's not the right, I know there's 4.
Years.
Is that the VIBA has put them in categories? The county, it's all people that are educators, that work for schools, that are working at preschools, that are working at universities. Everyone is eligible. If you work with children or a school system considered an educational professional, you are qualified to get the vaccine.
Our teachers and admin are getting something different than, I mean, it was just, Donna just reported on it that last night, but
Well, unfortunately, this changes. You know, we might tell you one thing and you call them up and they tell you something else. So we apologize if that happens, but at least, you know, try Tri-City and Scripps. So hopefully see what you can get. And we normally have up-to-date information, but this quagmire just keeps changing daily, unfortunately. Any
Other questions? I see we have some in the chat, and I'll get to that in a second. But again, if you want to physically raise your hand, I've got you all on my screen, or if you want to virtually. G, do you want to ask a question, and then I'll get to one in the chat?
Yeah, Supervisor, thank you for hosting this teleconference. I had a question regarding, I heard that there were vaccines that were being thrown away if they didn't meet their level of vaccinations for the day. And I don't know if that's site by site or whatnot, but I believe when you take them out of the freezer, you can't put them back in for the next day. So, one, do you know if that's still occurring? And then my second question is actually related to Shana Richardson's comment in the chat, like what the money that is in this bill, is that open to all schools or just those that have not reopened as of yet? So those are my two questions.
Okay. As far as being thrown away, I have not heard that anywhere yet. What has happened is, my understanding is they open up a batch of vaccines in the morning, they got to use them by the end of the day. And if somebody didn't make an appointment, basically what they do, there's have been, and I can't tell you that this happens at every vaccination station, but there have been people that show up late in the afternoon and they say, hey, if you got any left, I'm here. Or I've even heard somebody say they got a call from a friend who heard that there was extra vaccinations at site A, B, or C. When we went to Oceanside, when they opened theirs up, there was confusion about people, if you had to have an appointment or not. And we had many people that did not have appointments. And, but they took all their names and they said, if we have extras today, we will give you a call. And so they took their name and phone numbers and did that. And I think they're doing that at most of the stations. I can't guarantee it. It's not the best way to get the vaccine, but to my understanding, they're using them all up. If they're throwing any out, it's an anomaly and they weren't able to get other people in. I've heard from people that, hey, I had a friend of a friend call me and works at one of these places, or I've even heard that there was people that volunteer at some of these sites to help with traffic or help with different things, and they've gotten the shots because of at the end. So no throwing it out. And I'm not really sure what money you're talking about as far as the new stimulus that's coming from the federal government going to schools. I'm not sure. I didn't quite understand that question. Or Shana, can you?
Hi, I'm Shana, and I also work for Supervisor Desmond. I was on a call before this one that Assembly Member Tasha Borner Horvath had to leave the meeting early because she was going to the state capitol to vote on a bill that would affect schools, either the reopening or funding. So I'm not sure what the details are. I just know that this is on the state assembly's plate today. So hopefully we'll get more information by the end of today once they vote, and we'll see what comes out of there.
And I don't know the formula for these dollars yet. We never really know until we get the check and then we get the restrictions or the strings that are strings attached to everything. So for as far as how much goes to schools and what can and cannot. So I'm sorry, I don't have the answer.
Let's jump ahead here. Do we have any other kind of and I know vaccines, I know COVID, it's been, it's been almost a whole year now. So I know that's kind of the biggest issues. I'm just curious, and if it is just all COVID, then certainly just ask, do we have any outside of COVID questions? And I do want to answer one I know I'm jumping back to. And Skip, we'll get to you right here in a second. I see Vivian, you said, do you have any information as to when restaurants and gyms will be allowed to open with limited capacity? I can answer that soon, very, very soon, within days. And like Supervisor Desmond said, within earlier on the call, we're very close to the red tier, and they're doing some sort of thing. So hopefully we'll have that. And that would be indoor dining at 25%. Gyms at 10%, but there's some different changes going on. So Skip, you had your hand raised. Can you unmute and ask away?
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation to the meeting. I would like to make before I ask my question, if we could make a suggestion that the next time we do this, we do it on a day that is different than the Rancho Santa Fe board meeting, because I think a lot of people are gonna miss this opportunity. And none of our board members have the opportunity of being on this meeting, nor do the Rancho Santa Fe Association managers. But yeah, my question would be that I would like to know how often you and our board members get together to discuss issues in Rancho Santa Fe, such as speed limits and undergrounding utilities. I'm involved in all those committees and was involved in the committee for bringing the internet into our community, which worked out to be a great thing for this community with COVID. But it just seems like we do not have a lot of meetings with the county or with you, particular taking care of our issues.
As far as basically, it's on an as needed basis, and we'd be happy to come, or if I can't come, I'll send a staff member who knows a lot more about roads and infrastructure and things like that, traffic issues. I'd be happy to meet anytime. So
yeah, I would totally blame it on our board, because I think they should be contacting you on a regular basis, monthly basis, to take care of some of these issues.
We'd be, sometimes you're able to work them directly with county staff, but we'll help accommodate any of that or all. And if you want to talk to us, we'll be there. Either, I can send them, if you have a particular meeting, or quarterly, you want us to show up at your meetings and discuss these kinds of things, be happy to do it.
And Skip, this is kind of what we're doing, and we're going to come back in a few months. We're doing this with all the communities, hopefully one day soon, in person. But that's kind of the point. So, I mean, again, if there's something you want us to take away today, please direct it here.
Well, yeah, and I would say that we have had some of your, on our traffic issues, we've had some of the, highway patrol, county sheriffs, and, I think one of your traffic engineers. But, I think it's important that our board members meet with our supervisor and discuss these important issues.
Absolutely. Hey, Darren Gretler, Supervisor Desmond's chief of staff, is here. And I know we got some questions prior to, and then in the chat about San Pasquale Academy. And I know there's some misinformation, there's some true information. Darren, tell us the latest.
Yeah, thanks everyone. And I'm sorry I'm late. I was on it's a great thing about Zoom. I can jump from one meeting to another, but I was representing the supervisor at a different meeting. San Pasquale Academy, it's a good news, bad news issue. The good news is the county has changed the way they approach the foster care system and placing foster children. And the bottom line is there used to be hundreds, if not more than 1,000 kids at San Pasquale Academy, and they were high schoolers. In fact, I don't know, years ago, I remember going and supporting them at one of their high school basketball games, because they don't have a great fan support, right? So a group of us went and just cheered them on. And we saw it in its prime and its heyday. So this is the good news. We've changed the way we place kids and foster the foster system to the point where it was down to something like 50 or 60 something kids. In fact, in order to make it work, they started bringing in some of the younger siblings and reached down to middle school rather than just high school along the way. But our numbers are so low at this point, it makes it not feasible or not unnecessary to some degree to keep it as it is. And there's great discouragement from grouping the kids together in one home or in one location rather than trying to place them with family and all that. So because of that success, we're at a point where it's just doesn't work to keep it open. This is what county staff are telling us. Having said that, for those kids that are left, they are working to place them and put them in very good places, and they will not close it down until they have a great place for each and every one of those kids to go to along the way. And so I think there's an effort to request a little more, and this is really under state control as much as it is county, because the state, even a few years ago, said, you got to shut this down. We don't want foster care done this way anymore. And it was Ron Roberts and Greg Cox at the time said, this is before Supervisor Desmond was in office. Oh, we need a little more time. It's still an asset and a resource and these kids. And so the state passed legislation to give us a couple more years. Well, that's up, and we're hearing from our state legislators that it's just not an option to keep it open anymore. We're asking for a little more time again to continue to place the kids, but that's the long of it. So if there's any questions from there, I'm happy to take the questions and feedback, and we can go from there.
Appreciate the update. Yeah, if you have any questions, I know, like I said, we got those beforehand. Here's one that came in from Annette. Darren, do you know how many kids roughly?
Yeah, fewer than 60. And remember, they were at hundreds, if not 1,000. I could ask how many in the heyday, but it was a big school, or big, really, it's residential and all of that. So
appreciate it. I wanted to, Sam Blick, did you have your hand up? I wanted to make sure we get to your question. Yeah, ask away.
Yeah, just quickly, thank you very much, Jim, for having this meeting, and I appreciate you bringing up the public safety issue. I disagree with the premise. So the premise is that if there's any time that there's a threat of a fire, that it's okay to shut the power down. And that is true in some cases, of course. And I know you don't mean it with regard to the whole county, but what we find is, I'm on the board of the bridges. We're a small little group here, but we put in our own fire suppression system at great expense, and it's state of the art. But when you turn off the power, it doesn't work. And we're just an island here that loses its power sort of arbitrarily. Rancho Santa Fe community may have its power and we don't. Or maybe the Crosby does and we don't. So we're on a separate switch. I don't want to be so specific, but even speaking generally about Rancho Santa Fe in general, sometimes there's not even a wind event. And sometimes, and generally, the fire threat is far away. And yet they say, well, just to be careful, we'll cut your power. And it causes a lot of problems. It's not just like, oh, you guys suffer because it's a good idea. There's going to be some fire prevention as a result. And it's just not true. And the financial cost is very significant. I mean, speaking in our case, we can lose $50,000 worth of food just like that, because we have a clubhouse, which is a restaurant. And that's got to be true in all sorts of houses where you wipe out their freezer and you can put in your own system. But if you don't have that, if you don't have your own generator, it is very significant. So I just say in conclusion, don't accept the premise that if there's a threat of a fire, there's a Santa Ana wind, it's okay to shut the power down. It's a good idea, because it isn't a good idea. And in some cases like ours, it's actually dangerous. And in all cases, it's expensive.
Well, that's part of the effort that I put forward to try to mitigate some of those things as best we can. And maybe we have to get Bridges together with SDG&E and let them know that you've got your fire suppression system. And I don't know if they can isolate you off the grid or where. I'm not sure how all that works.
Yeah, they can isolate us, and I do talk to them. But okay. I was taking advantage of this opportunity to emphasize it with your office.
Okay. Well, maybe we can help push that effort. And I I can't, and I don't really want to second guess whether they should or should not turn off the power. I don't know enough. I'm not an expert on that, and I have to kind of trust them. And they do err sometimes on the side of safety, which you got to do sometimes. But I think if there's instances where we can help mitigate and reduce the impacts of the shutoffs, that's the effort that I'm trying to put forward. And this is a good idea towards
Thank
that.
you.
So I think that's good. And I just want to get back to Skip real quick. We just found out, I guess, a couple days ago that this meeting, we scheduled this as the same time as the Rancho Santa Fe Association meeting. So we will not do that in the future. One of the things we've also thought about is maybe doing at night. We've done some at 7 o'clock at night. We might be able to do that as well. And then also, Skip, I'd be happy to, if you want to contact give my office a call. If you want to set up something quarterly or something like that, where we get together, even if it was a Zoom or phone call, or just get together and hear about the issues regarding speed limits and issues like that, be happy to do it. All right.
Other questions, virtual hands, physical hands, anywhere? Let me see, and I can run through some of these as well that we received. Let me see if anybody else has any questions. Don't be shy. This is the time. This is the time to ask away.
I have a question.
Okay.
Hi. I'm fairly new to the Rancho Santa Fe area, moving from the Bay Area prior to this. And as far as roads in the community, I understand that we're not an incorporated city, so the funds from taxes don't really directly get appropriated to our roads, but traffic is a problem, but I don't think as much as a problem as the conditions with most of our roads. How do you manage requests or manage the maintenance and condition of our roads and streets?
Let's see, Darren, I mean, the county has like a calendar and we resurface every so often. Now, Darren, you came from, nice thing about some of my staff members, they came from some of the different county departments and planning and development services. I think, Darren, you ran that department, and I know that's not public works, but can you give us an insight on how the management of the road condition are?
Sure thing. It's part science, part art. The staff create a list and they go through priorities. They know when they've done whatever they've done, whether it's slurry sealed or whatever else. If you have one-off potholes, they will come out and fix them. You report them. I think there's a phone line, but also there's an app that I was playing around with just the other day.
Oh.
Crystal, if you could put the app, KJ, if you could put that app in the comments section.
That'd be awesome.
You can download the app and you can report things like potholes or code enforcement cases on the app. And I think you take a picture even and send it in.
Oh, okay, great. Well, unfortunately, there are many potholes.
Yeah, so the one-offs.
So
and if you're not feeling like you're getting a response, that's what we're here for. And we're very accessible. And you see we have several of our staff online here. But all the time we get, whether it's emails, we actually like that. That's one of the better parts of the job, is to be able to, that's what's cool about working for a county supervisor and being where we're at, is we can make a difference. We can go out and get that pothole filled and help bring it to the attention of Public Works and get that done. But for the roads and the priority for the road improvements and the repavings, the Public Works keeps a schedule, but they have thousands of miles of roads throughout the unincorporated area. So what we've said, and in fact, we had a meeting just a week or so ago, I want to say, the supervisor and we had a meeting with the president of the board and the association, Christy and those guys. And they mentioned that they were going to be putting together a list of road priorities and sending them to us. I think that was more focused on speed limits, but when it comes to needs for repaving, if there's a particularly bad section, if you send that to us, the staff listens to us. That's not to say they get out the next day, but we have a good way of helping them to decide what's higher on the list if we're hearing a lot from the community. So that's a two-part answer to your question.
There is a
to use the app more, or to communicate via email to you? What would be the problem?
The app would be for specific potholes.
Oh,
When
okay.
it comes to more wider repaving or resurfacing and that sort of thing, then that would be a bigger picture. The staff keeps a list and they do try to maintain it regularly. But if there's bad sections, we want to hear about it and we'll bring it to the staff's attention.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question. We've got maybe 1-2 more questions. I see Beth Nelson has her virtual hand raised. So Beth, ask away.
Yes, hi, thank you. I'm with the San Diego Planning Group, and I want to reiterate what the last person just said. We're hearing a lot about the roads as well, and I've seen the schedule for paving that's out there for the next, I think, 3 years or something, and would hope that more could be added to that around Rancho Santa Fe, because there's roads people are telling me that are causing damage to their cars. They're so bad. The other thing I wanted to express was back to the power lines and the fire hazard. And a number of years ago, there was an effort, started about 10 years ago, between the association here and the CSD to do undergrounding. And the process they came up with was to divide the ranch into districts. And then each district needed to find a resident as a captain who would contact all the neighbors in their district, which could be, some were smaller, maybe 20 homes or businesses, and others look to have dozens and dozens of people in their district. And you would have to get a majority of them to agree to put forth for $2,000 for a study, an engineering study, to find out the costs, and then put it to a vote in your district to get all the neighbors to agree for an assessment to pay for the undergrounding. I mean, it was quite a laborious process, and put the onus on the residents in one area by area, with one leader who agreed to step up and try and organize the whole effort. And only 2 districts tried it. One failed, and one, a very small one near the village, succeeded in getting theirs undergrounded. But it obviously wasn't a very feasible or easy to do process. And I'm wondering if there can be a better effort on the county's part. I mean, obviously this is going to be a long-term problem. I don't think the fire danger is going away. Can there be some effort to have a long-range plan to go through and get the undergrounding done in these areas over a period of years? So maybe 10 years in the future, it's done.
Well, I guess that was probably coordinated through SDG&E as far as just setting it up in, districts with district captains. And was that effort, do you remember? I mean, it sounds like an SDG&E plan. Is that?
It was the association here with the CSD. I don't know how much SDG&E was a part of that, but the association was very involved. So I assume you can talk to the management over there, the staff over there, and get more of the history. But
well, you did have a successful, I'm sure not to the same scale, but with the with the fiber optic and internet. That was a good effort, community effort, and that made that potential impossible. That was just a small.
Yeah, that was a little different because everybody here saw everybody needed the high speed internet, and in this case, some areas have some power lines undergrounded, or there's homes that don't have any power lines running across their property, so they're not willing to pay for the undergrounding in their district, and it's quite expensive. And so
we can take a look at this. Maybe the planning group, or like you said, the San Diego planning group. I don't know if you want to bring something to our attention or have us attend one of the meetings when you're, talking about this, and maybe we can expand that a little bit further with SDG&E and because it's, we're trying to get, like I said, minimize some of these fire risks, and this might be a longer term solution, but something worth looking and keeping on the list to, prioritize. So got no problem with that. So Miles, we're going to have to wrap this up, and then
Yeah, I wanted to go quickly and make it quick. G, did you have one more thing? And
Yeah, it was just a real quick comment. I just want to give Supervisor Desmond props for working hard since May to reopen businesses safely and school sports and all of that. So I just want to thank you for your hard work. And I know you're the lone voice many times.
All right. Thanks, G. All right.
take it away. Like I said. Mhm.
Well, we're happy to do this again. I think we're trying to do this a couple times a year at least with these types of coffees with everybody. We'd love to get your feedback. I definitely won't do it on an association meeting day. But if you got any questions, call my office. If you didn't get an answer today or you didn't get time to get it through there, appreciate it. And we'll work with the association a little bit closer and be happy to get your input, particularly on the fire issues. And hopefully we get through this COVID thing in a couple of months and come out better at the other end. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time and effort.